Okay, so welcome back, everyone. I would suggest that those people who are spread out a little maybe move forwards and kind of sit a little bit closer. It's a little more, oh, it's nicer for us. Come on, guys, don't be shy. It's not that far. Thank you. We don't bite, and this is supposed to be a conversation, so we don't have to shout through the entire room. And also, since this is a fishbowl format, I'm going to actually ask some of you to join us on stage at some point. So then you won't have to run as far as you would if you were sitting all back in the last row. Okay, super. Thank you very much. Just very briefly, my name is Anna, as Pauline already introduced, and I'm a serial entrepreneur in the tech and imaging space here in Berlin. And I am actually going to pass on the microphone to my lovely co-chairs and let them introduce themselves and say a few words, and then we'll jump right into the discussion. So, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you. My name is Lisa Lang. I'm the founder of Electro Couture. We are in the business of fashion technology, but we are especially focusing on ready-to-wear fashion technology. I'm wearing 3 fashion technology items. And we can make like, we can find out which items they actually are, but I'm like fully technorized at the moment. And thank you so much for the invitation, and I will come probably from the fashion concept to that topic. But I'll just give over to René. Hi, René.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm René from Wear LEDs and also Elector, the electronics magazine. And I want to bring electronics to fashion, not fashion to electronics. And our LEDs, you can iron them on. So I hate sewing, I can't even do this. I hate scissors. So I have a, yes, I'm sorry, but it works. Yeah, so you can use LEDs and just iron it on. Everybody can do this, even the man. No, shut up and take my money.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from the Hamburg-based VR Nerds Collective. So we do different things regarding VR. So we cover the whole VR scene, reviews, testings, game stuff, as well as hardware testings and reviews for the German-speaking community, and also do different projects for clients on the B2B sector, and have a experimental VR game for the HTC Vive. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Hi, my name is Gabriel. I'm a business and innovation consultant, and I'm also co-founder of a all-black, high-tech, high-fashion brand called Phoebe Hees. We are parts looking into wearables, like wearable technology, but an important part in our endeavors is not only like the electrified side, but also new fabrics, and there's a lot happening there as well. And well, being like upfront, we're also very interested in virtual reality and are looking into projects in the future.
Okay, so what I would really like to talk with you guys about is the whole question. I mean, as we've seen from the brief intro, we have some very strong opinions here about wearable technologies and different approaches to that topic, and how technology becomes integrated in fabric, in fashion, in the real world. And what I would really like to look at is what your opinion is about how this could become integrated with virtual reality and virtual worlds. Where do you think there's going to be an impact? And just as a quick introduction to the audience again, we have an empty chair here. That's not because someone's running late, which wouldn't be surprising, but this is because we really want you to be able to join the conversation as well. So at any point in the discussion, do feel free to come up, grab that chair, join us, and you'll get a microphone and you can join us for the discussion, ask questions, and then pass it on to someone else. So I'll kick off by actually, René, what do you think about your type of wearable tech ideas? Do you see there a link with virtual reality, and what do you think how that could look?
So virtual reality, I mean, I'm a computer scientist. We use it for years I come from HCI, human-computer interaction, and I never saw an application for this. It was just research. And now at Republica, I saw so many people with those cardboard things for augmented reality, virtual reality. And I think the first time that I really thought it makes sense was when Jasna Rock showed me their cardboard with their collection. So their collection, their fashion collection, is in virtual reality. And I thought, oh yeah, makes sense. Yeah, so I can have a look around in the virtual space. But for myself, it is of course death, because LEDs don't work in the virtual reality. So I don't like virtual reality at all. But there are applications, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Come up, join us, grab a seat, grab a microphone.
Because exactly about LEDs, what I bet there's already, of course, things developing like that, and I hope maybe in 10, 20 years there will be something like that you can actually wear monitors as dresses, purses, trousers, anything, so you can sort of just wear an item of clothing with a kind of LED on that maybe you could produce, and you can just project your own type of pattern and style according to the time of day and whatever. Or if you have a purse, you can sort of put different motifs on, or on your t-shirt, all sorts of, instead of just having a print, you can just say, give me coffee, or in the evening, oh, it's gin o'clock, or I like Star Wars, or whatever. And I think, how do you think would that maybe develop? Because that's something that I want.
So I heard this vision before from Lisa. She's really the evangelist for this vision. I am low tech, so I want to have a few LEDs on the fashion, just to give a little accent to something. Huh? But Lisa can tell you more about your idea, I guess.
So the good news is that you don't have to wait for 10 years, because this is actually already happening. And it's not the problem with LEDs itself, it's actually a problem in putting it in fabrics and an entire energy supply. And then, hey, when you make so much effort you put in a dress, at some stage you also want to wash it. Right? I mean, the advantage of virtual reality and augmented reality is you don't have to wash it, right? If you project it on a garment, or if you see an avatar, something, you don't have to wash those avatars, right? I mean, you can watch them bathing, but you don't have to wash it for the in real life. So I think actually the advantage for those technologies is that we can already live the future. So we can already see what can happening. And I think because we are, as humans, we are very visual orientated. So we have to see it to believe it. So because so many people, fashion tech is not it's not a new topic, it's a very old topic, right? So, and now it's just has this another push to get into reality. But I think from my experiences also, it's a prototype or something visual shows much more than just 10 pages of data and potential and spreadsheets and whatsoever. So I see that as a huge advantage for demo things, for fashion designers who, in terms of budget or sustainability, don't want to produce a big collection, but they have to show it to do market research. From a business perspective, I think it's absolutely huge.
Sorry. Yeah, I have something to that avatar thing, because I had such a nice experience the last 2 days. I was at the media convention doing the Disconnected performance, where Thorsten Storno from Amaze and me were in pink onesies, and we connected to people from VR chat, for example. They do VR environments and also VR avatars, characters, and you always have to decide when you jump into VR chat what to wear. And this time it was super awesome, because they made me a custom avatar. So for the last performance, they already did one for Thorsten, which was a whole pink onesie, not very detailed, and just with glasses on. But for me, they did an avatar which had this also the pink onesie, but it was super nice with these also with nice shades, and also the print in the back with Disconnected on it. And I was feeling super pretty when I walked through VR chat, and instead of all the other times, because the other times then I just ended up choosing a pony or something which looked super cute, but because the normal avatars look not really fashionable. That's just something which...
Well, I would like to tap in there. I mean, it looks like there's a lot of things and a lot of benefits for the user itself, but from the business perspective, For us as a fashion brand, it's interesting because if you're a startup, to get into brick and mortar is really, really expensive. Not only is it expensive to get into shops worldwide, it's also very expensive for the client because he has to pay the markup of said brick and mortar stores all over the world, which is normally like 300% or something. So it makes a lot of sense for startups to sell online, digitally, but then this whole haptic feeling is just not there. So I think it's a really important step, especially for us who are producing black clothing, and black clothing are like famous for being complicated to visualize on the net itself, and also having like really like delicate and new garments which you really have to feel. I think it's a really important step to get more immersive into the product.
I mean, in a sense, what we were talking about the fabric earlier that kind of swallows light. The what's it called? Vanta black? Viper black. I think what's really interesting is that you're talking about actually swallowing light, going blacker than black, and you guys are actually working with light. So I'm wondering if there's kind of, could you see a connection between the two? Could that be interesting? What do you say?
So I think it is a perfect match. So if I'm the brightest, people will see me. I mean, if I'm the darkest, maybe I will also be seen because all the others are so bright. So I think it's a perfect combination.
But I think it's also really in terms of, you know, as you said, like startups or like, in the end of the day, fashion as we know it has been standing still for a long time. And I think this is now the perfect opportunity for like either going bright or either going black, really to just like kind of reinvent and rejuvenate the fashion industry. Because if you think about it, fashion always has been inspired and innovated by technology, right? You know, the spandex, stretch material, the sewing machine, the zipper, digital print and stuff like that. So I think this is a great opportunity for new designers to come in, but it's also a great opportunity for big design fashion houses who like stuck. And because, you know, I think the reason why we go like into all of this retro phases now is because like people are just running out of ideas. So like, what's next? I mean, the other thing also is that the whole experience of retail is dead, right? So people talking about that, you know, this is not about your shop you go into an experience shop, you go into a community space. So virtual reality can add to that. I'm not saying like this is the answer to everything, same as like LEDs are not the answer to everything, most of it. You know, 3D printing, stuff like that. So I'm basically just excited about there is a technology which is there, but very interestingly, this technology is totally hollow because there is not enough content. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for fashion to come in. And I deeply believe in technology that they will also be able to manage black of black of black. Because if you remember like how much stuff we figured out with technology in the last 10 years, and that would be actually a really cool challenge. It would be really awesome to have like a software engineer, virtual reality engineer. Sarah, can you do something like to do the challenge?
We looked into this. It's not going to happen because you always have a screen, and the screen is just going to be as black as the screen. So you can't go blacker than this.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's actually. Oh, do come and join us. Feel free.
Hi, I'm Jose. I'm part of Jasna Rock, and I just wanted to add something about you said about this lack of content. So as we are involved in fashion, we wanted to bring this new way of making photo shoots, where you have this VR experience, and we have a little tryout here for everyone who wants to try it out. Or you can also visit our Facebook page to see it. And I don't know, I would like to show it to you, to you.
I'm just zoning out, okay?
So we want to, like, say, innovate fashion. So we are trying to find different ways to digitalize fashion and to give the viewer another experience of photo shoots and
That's also the thing, because like Burberry, for instance, they've done a test, right? So they did like the interactive runway, So you even actually don't have to be there in person. So like wherever you are, you just put on one of these thingies and you can just be in Paris as a fashion show, right? So, you know, the bigger picture is the sustainability. You don't have to travel. You save the fuel cost, stuff like that. Still, sorry, I'm like the whole topic of like black, but I deeply believe in technology. We will figure out somehow. Have you thought about smart textiles? Can they do anything about that in terms of like triggering the technology so you know, okay, this goes high, this goes deep, so you can do the depth? Or is the problem really like the quality of the displays at the moment?
Well, if you show it digitally, like that's the last 10 centimeters, and that is something which you just can't jump over. However, like what you just proposed is like an interesting idea. Like we could, you know, there's panels on cars, which are if you put electricity on it, you can take it from black to see-through, and that is something which you could probably do with clothes as well, and especially with this fabric as well.
Yeah, I think. At the moment, it's really the thing that every VR display still has that screen door effect, and it will also not pass until the next few years. So that's not going to happen that fast. But there's the augmented reality technology, which is developing super fast, and I guess in 5 years or something, projects like Google's Magic Leap, they will be able to do exactly that when you look at something or anything, that it will just add the things in the augmented reality.
I think that's actually an interesting point, the question of actually, if we think about VR, we very often think about it as something that is a very individual experience because it's kind of closed off. But then again, there are already applications where you can be two people in a room, both wearing a VR headset and interacting with each other. So the interesting question would be, if you wore something with LEDs on it, for instance, how could you imagine that could have an influence? I mean, basically, you can have hardware that actually screens the person opposite you, and that the lights of the LEDs could be translated in the VR in one way or another. Just as an idea.
So you mean this extends your world?
Yes.
It's like an augmented reality.
So basically you take an effect from something that you're wearing and you're transferring that into the VR, but just looking at people in the real world, you wouldn't know what that aspect could translate into in the VR.
Yes, it's of course, you can imagine this. I don't like it too much, yeah, because...
Why is that? You seem to be...
Yes, I don't like it too much because you always have to use this, at the moment it's your phone. They run out of battery. Yeah? And fashion should not run out of battery. And this is also one of my problems, and also one of everybody's problems, not your problem probably. So I think augmented reality or virtual reality is good for going shopping or something like this. But I don't like it for the everyday fashion aspect of it. No?
For me, the other aspect is actually the fascinating thing is just imagine you would just wear something black, something white, something colorful, and then just through a display you have dancing pink flamingos, flying around you or something like that. Then if you take it from that, what you can do is that different people with different access codes can see something different. Your friends see something different, no friends see something, something you don't want, they just don't see anything. In terms of business, red carpet, press people see something completely different, VIPs. I think in terms of a really playfulness, how to use technology, I'm not saying that it will replace everything. It's a part of a new thing, and we try out and we play with it. But I think there is so much you can do, right? That you just have this one garment, but you have 1,000 ideas, because your mood during the day changes much more often than you can actually change your clothes. Just the logistics out of it. Tried it, didn't work. So I think from that perspective, it's absolutely amazing. And then if some design really gets into a trend and people tweet about it, oh, this is amazing, then you can actually produce it. Because I think, for startups, for small fashion companies, it's so difficult to find that design everybody wants, or the right people wants, and actually it's worth it to produce. So it can be actually a super awesome marketing tool and also fun.
What's your perspective on avatars in the VR and fashion on avatars in the VR? Any opinion?
Yeah, well, I think that's super important because there are a lot of people jumping into VR, meeting up with other people. There's also alt space, which is not relying on people-generated avatars because it's kind of, the avatars are not there which really look good. So there are people behind. It's often like comic figures, something like that. So I think it's really important to have some good-looking avatars which fits your type and which you can adjust or something, that you can go into different VR rooms to meet up with people and to also have business meetings, like serious stuff going on there, and you don't want to be like a jumping pony or something. But yeah, it's completely not there. So there are like people doing it, but not on a like sophisticated way, and not from real designers with a fashion background. They're not in there.
Yeah, I see that as well. I mean, we see how very successful just like emoticons are. You know, like everybody's using them. There's not really like a use for that thing, but having avatars, you will be able to just add this additional layer of information, which can be playful, can be fun, and conveys much more information than if you would just be by yourself.
How close do you see avatars being to the real person in the background? Do you think there's going to be kind of an ideal world that we kind of try and portray in the VR while kind of choosing figures, people, body types and stuff that we're not, just to kind of try and be something that we aren't in the real world?
Oh, I guess sooner or later you should have that avatar that is you. Sooner or later, just to choose it. You can be everyone at any time, but if you just want to be you in the virtual world and just want to meet someone, which you really got to meet, then you should be able to be you. But if that's like an avatar, or if it's more like a hologram or a scan, something like that, that can be, but there definitely have to be.
I think so too. I think, but you just have to look to the history of the web, like avatars or like emoticons and like, I mean, I don't know who was there, but remember MySpace? I mean, how pages look there. I mean, that was just like some unicorn just barfed on your page, you know. And that's going to be the in-between step first, and then when the technology is just sufficient enough, you're just going to have yourself in there, but you need, of course, more rendering power and all of that stuff. But it's not going to be yourself, it's going to be yourself, but imperfect.
I think, yeah, that was the point about Second Life, right? Did I hear that correctly? Yeah. Yeah. Come and grab a microphone. Come and join us. That's why the chair's here.
Okay, so it was a big hype of Second Life in the 2000 something, and everyone thought this is the point, and now we are going to the virtual world. It was about 3-4 years and it stopped. I was talking here to young generation, they even don't know what is Second Life. So in this point, I am a little bit older here, so I was thinking about what is this virtual reality, why people need it, and how it can work for the future. In a way, with the new technology, we are going more far and far from ourselves, looking kind of exchange of our identities, which is actually, in my opinion, is false. We have to come more and more to ourselves and to exchange between ourselves, not making fiction of our unsecureness, fear, bad mood, putting us to success if we are not successful, but more deal with our personalities. So I am working as a media artist with a video conference in public space where people meet real people, and I think this is an advantage really to start talking about the future and not to run out from the future without taking responsibility about it.
I have something to say to you. Firstly, I've got a book recommendation for you. It's called Self-Made by Darusha Vaim, a great science fiction author, and she discusses exactly that. She discusses people who go into a virtual reality and be themselves, and that's something that I find what you say very problematic. I am a member of the Cyborgs Association or Cyborgs Club in Germany, and we say what you imagine about yourself that you can show online is just as real. It's just more cultivated, it's just not something that's grown biologically. But if I choose to show myself as a green and orange spotted armadillo, and if I think that's me, that is bloody real. And especially the virtual reality aspect is very important for people also from the queer aspect of people trying out different gender identities before maybe transitioning as a transsexual person. And in that novel by Darusha, it's exactly one of the subplots is about that, about a transgender person actually being themselves online and then later transitioning.
I am completely agree with you about possibility psychologically to go out and to try different possibilities of yourself. I am for it. But being, taking it as a possibility to know yourself much better and to confront yourself in your real life.
Well, that's what it is, because it's the same thing as if when you choose a name for yourself online that is not a passive received name, like, let's say, Claudia Schmidt, but Claudia Schmidt goes online and actually takes a long time thinking up a name which represents me to use as a screen name or handle online, and everyone knows who that name may be. It maybe is Claudia Schmidt, but it's actually very much yourself because you're forced to get to know yourself outside of just the normal bourgeois idea of what a natural identity is. And that's what's really important to know, that there's no difference really between something that's biologically grown or cultivated or man-made, or people call it artificial. That's just as natural and just as real.
I'll just quickly jump in there because we also have another person.
Yeah. I agree, like, you know, on you both sides. I think there is like as much as it's like it's a huge opportunity, but of course, like we've seen like so many stories. I mean, like there
sorry,
was,
ladies, thank you.
But I just like, you know, because of course, like the history of all of that technology and the content, because in the end of the day, it's just like the same kind of principle, just like in a new kind of technology channel, right? Of course, we have to be aware of like the problems which come occur. You know, there are like the stories of like, you know, the family who was lived in virtual life and had a virtual family while their children were starving to death, right? Okay, so that is one thing. We have to take that opportunity, that experience, and make sure that in the next generation of this technology is not going to happen. I'm just excited about the opportunity to play around with it without losing the seriousness of it, because there are like a lot of, you know, talking about software development, like don't be, you know, always be aware of like the backdoors. And, you know, where you say in Germany, the Datenkrake. So, you know, if we go into a complete different world, we also become completely see-through for like a lot of other channels we are even not know. So I think a certain amount of consciousness in which kind of context you go, and it doesn't matter if you go on VR, on AR, or on Facebook, we just have to be aware of it.
I think I totally agree with what you say, and I think today actually fashion is boring because we were wearing the same clothes, and fashion is about identity and expressing yourself. So why don't we do more with fashion? We have so much technologies around us that we can use to express that even more. And about conscience, it's interesting because it's easy to like think of those drama scenarios and to go really far. But what if you think about the possibilities that you have today to learn more about yourself? If you use sensors in your garments, you can learn a lot more than go on Facebook and go online, but you also can connect yourself. Fashion can become an internet of things. Like we, with our design studio, we are playing around with brainwaves and EMG sensors. Well, if you use that in a good way, you can...
You've got a big fan.
Well, yeah, you can start solving problems of today. Like, for instance, people with a concentration disorder, they would really have something. So I think as a fashion designer, I have the vision, what if your garments become your best friends and they guide you through the whole day?
Yes, and they just help you because especially with the brainwaves, so like we're working on a project with Anouk Wiebrecht in Ars Electronica, and this is like for children with attention disorder, and their problem is like they don't know when they're switched on because their like the way how it actually, the problem for them is they don't know when they are actually can take on something, and people around them don't know either. So we've been designing a wearable where it like switched on so that it really like a light bulb goes up. It's like, okay, so like the brainwaves are now on the level where the child actually can absorb information and now switched off. So like that is absolutely amazing. But they don't have to, but if you let technicians, on that, they look like robots, and that's like when you go with a fashion designer, because what fashion designers do, they design the user interface. Remember back then in internet times, we had like all of like this line of codes. What came in? Web designers, because they gave you a user interface. I think fashion technology is exactly on that same point where we have the designers who are like as equal as the technicians. They give you a user interface, right? And technology just like goes in the background, but it's as important. And I think examples like that is because, of course, children don't want to look like robots except like in costumes when it's cool, but they just also want to look normal even though they have a disorder, and fashion can do this normality and make it really fashionable.
Yes, and also maybe think about fashion can be a new way of communicating in a non-verbal way, if you see it in that sense.
I think I would challenge that though, because I think it could be extremely alienating for children that have a disorder, and basically taking the decision away from them whether they're going to communicate that or not is a bit of it could be a controversial issue.
Yes, I agree, and I think the choice and the control is mostly important in that, you know. So that's why important, like if you talk about fashion technologies, for us always like when we produce our clothes, it's like there's always a switch off button, and the item you wear, even though with switched off technology, is still pretty and, you know, normal. And I think that's like the next step we have to do.
Well, actually we have the solution for that, because what we created is a 3D focus accessory, so you can wear it as a necklace or a belt. And the moment that people with a concentration disorder realize, or they decide, like, okay, now I want to train myself, they can take their accessory off and they put it in front of themselves. And because there are lights in it, there is an EEG learning system embedded in it. So you decide, okay, now I'm going to train, so you can train yourself on concentrating. So that's a good solution to wear it as fashion, but you decide when you're going to use it.
That's the point, you decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, you decide.
I had a question for you because you talked about batteries.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't understand, like there's such a nice, small solar panels for clothing could be used, like they're using already in micro technologies. And I could imagine that you not only can use your clothing for charging your iPhones or other gadgets, but also using LEDs with flying flamingos or whatever.
Anybody has to say to that, because this is my topic. How much time do we have?
Can I say something?
Please.
Well, I think there are already other solutions for that, and using a solar panel, I mean, there is not always sunshine. Also, where you put it, you're not always standing in the sun, and you can use a lot of other things for batteries. And I think she knows everything about it.
But you can also collect your energy in your backpack in the beach, and then you can go and do whatever you want with your...
And solar is not only the only technology. So there's like this whole concept of like smart energy harvesting systems. So it's piezo, it's Peltier, it's kinetic. The problem is, step one, that especially for solar, they are super expensive. They're really difficult to produce. There's one thing, and also the problem is still technology-wise, is like you can capture it, you have to store it somewhere, and then you just have to give it to the microchip or to the LED. So that translation technology. So we have the battery, we have the kinetic Peltier, solar, and stuff like that. The transition technology is still missing in a way so you can wear it and then also wash it.
And batteries are a big problem as well still.
Of course, that's also, I mean, okay, there's another thing. So batteries, lipos, very, very bad. Nobody actually thought about it. This is like, technology is so smart, but like nobody has thought about making it washable, bendable, pretty. And I think this is, again, where fashion technology can go in and say like, wait a minute, like, let's make it pretty, because actually with that you make it adaptable. And I mean, we are now in a situation where we also hopefully go from lipos to supercaps. Sorry, nerd talk, but it's really important. So I think for the stuff I see and what we're working on, it's not a question if, it's a question when. But we are all impatient people, so we can let's push it and make it tomorrow. But I think this is very important in terms of sustainability, that because we don't want, as you said, like it's really awesome to have like smart clothing. It turns you into Superman. But if the electricity is gone, you're just a normal person again. And usually with those devices, this is why like medical devices have a huge problem, because they usually then lose their battery life when you actually really need it, right? So this whole thing is like, because you sweat, you walk, you talk, you go into the sun, all of that, we actually are our own power plant. It's now the technology has to move in and actually make it usable in fashion.
Yeah, and I wonder why we use electricity at all. So we are a power plant, and we had a cyborg on stage. So why don't we combine this? Why don't we take the energy from our body? I have enough energy for an LED.
Yeah.
Or we
like
just...
in walking, I always dream about these shoes that you are making yourself warm with walking on it.
I would just tap into the Tesla grid.
Actually have docking stations, or basically have, hey, that would be an idea to kind of go and charge your fashion on a...
So it's like always like ecosystems, right? This is so important. So like what we started to do, like all of our jewelry and our garments, they actually now come with wireless docking stations, but we are building them on QI standard, because McDonald's and Subway and what's it like, this coffee brand? I don't drink coffee.
Starbucks.
Thank you. So what they actually do is like they all have wireless charging systems on QI standard for your phones, right? So that means in future you can take the wireless charging garments and just go to Starbucks on the way to your opera and just like charge your garment or your jewelry. This is what we learned from Tesla with all of those electric cars. It's like the technology is as good as the ecosystem around it. So I think it's also really important to look at the big picture and see what is there, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? We also have to use that what is there, so we can really focus on what we have to invent, and that is battery systems, a smart energy system, because that's what we really have to focus on.
Yeah, I agree on that, but we should think outside of the box, like trying to not be dependent of energy. Like René said, our body is a power plant, So we don't need anything extra to charge or power LEDs. So we need to think in a way of harvesting energy, like you said, without using batteries, because our body is a constant power plant. So we need to think further.
And I think, yes, but that is step 3. Like in between, we have to go like about electronics and just making it normal that we wear it and also pretty. Because like what Tesla is doing is like now they just, okay, now we have electric cars, step 1, right? And now they're working on like actually doing the harvesting system as well. With like they wanna, I've seen like they do have like concrete where you can actually charge your phone, stuff like that. So of course they didn't start with the concrete, they started with the car. And I think that this is kind of what we have to follow as well, right?
In a sense, I think we're talking about infrastructures, and in an ideal world where we would be, well, in an ideal world, we would be part of that infrastructure. So basically, you might have charging or docking stations, but you might also be able to just kind of generate your own. I mean, that's like those little power generators for your mobile phone that were around a little while ago, where you can kind of turn a wheel to actually charge your phone, and you have to sit there for 10 minutes for about 2 minutes talking time and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in the gym, you know.
Absolutely.
Or we can use blood.
Blood?
Blood. I mean, that's where the energy, how it's being transported in your body.
For the vampires.
Now this is going to, this is starting to become a bit morbid here.
But I was thinking about like everyone can be a promoter of some ideas that he believes in a way of LED writing on your clothing, then so you can also get some money, like not making, for example, the promotion for Republica, going on the street with blah, 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 or changing it and also getting money, like being a producer for someone with your own clothing.
Like a living billboard.
Yeah.
Living and walking billboard. I'm not sure. I think it's an interesting concept, but to me it sounds a little bit like something
It's
out
only
of
if you believe in it, you know.
Yeah. No, I don't mean to say that I don't believe in the technology. I believe the technology is going to be there relatively soon. I just think that it becomes, if we think about advertising, we always tend to get really annoyed with advertising and banner ads and everything, and then basically everyone becoming their own billboards sounds scary to me, to be honest.
But what you could do is like with augmented reality, you could of course create different layers of reality, and you could kind of administer it and say,
you have to pay for the ad blocker.
No, I'm at Republica now, so I'm gonna have my avatar reality of being like a digital guy, what I've done, what my business is, and so on. And then I could walk out on the street, and that's just gone. Then I'm going, I don't know, into a club, and it's like me in a disco suit, and I'm just adapting to the environment and what I really want to show of myself.
Actually, as we were talking about book recommendations, there's a sci-fi book called The Quantum Thief, and it plays with the idea that basically it's talking about levels of privacy that because people are kind of very digitally loaded with digital data, a handshake, basically, you decide how much information you give to the other person with a digital handshake. You can kind of lay yourself open, or you can just kind of pass on basic information. And I think it goes a little bit beyond the idea of fashion, but it's about communicating with people. And of course, fashion ultimately is communication.
I think identity theft will be a very big problem in the future.
Absolutely, yeah.
In the virtual space.
I also, again, to this promotion on your body or your clothing, I think it's decentralization of big conglomerates that are making the same thing in the big, so the people can take it personally, and because how many jobs we will get in the future, like just think about in 10 years or already now robotics that is taking the place of human beings. So we have to invent something that still will be useful, but maybe less damaging. So
I think we have another comment from the audience. Can I ask one of you to give up the seat? Yeah.
Because
Thank
what
you.
I wanted to know,
Thank
what
you
you were
very
also
much.
talking about. Oh, finish your sentence first.
Oh no, I was just like, in terms of like, I'm not worried about like robots will take over and stuff like that. Because like if we have like machines to take care of our normal stuff, we actually have time to think about like the next steps, right? Because I'm an art historian, sorry, I'm just like. You know, like if you think about, you know, it's like in the old Greece, right? You know, where they had time to sit on the marketplace and talk about philosophy and think about things like maths and stuff like that. Is because they had slaves, and robot is actually just a Czech name for slave, to take care of their daily business, right?
But what about a robot workers movement, like in the beginning of the 20th century? That's
yes, absolutely. I mean, like, of course, you know, slaves had their movement, and then now we have like unions and everything. So, you know, that is no. It's like I see it from a very pragmatic point, right? I think exactly what you said is like the thing about like it's really important to be still as enthusiastic I am about like the future of technology and in VR and AR and all of that stuff. We still have to be like very, very conscious of like, because at the same time where we create opportunities for something good, there is light, there is shadow. We LED people know that. You create a lot of light, there's a lot of shadow.
There's light and there's a lot of darkness.
Yeah,
in
so
black.
we just have to be conscious about it because yes, data theft is already an issue, right? The thing is about in fashion tech is also like we have to be aware of that, like we are not going to be the carriers of like the data krake again. Sorry, the Craig with the data. So we are not becoming the user interface for that. It's really important for designer to be technically also conscious of like what they're actually doing and vice versa.
Because my thought was, you said that earlier, I thought that was very significant. And I'm quoting the first fashion designer that was known by name, which is Rose Bertin, who was nicknamed the Minister of Fashion for Marie Antoinette. And she says, there is nothing new unless it is forgotten. And now you were saying all these retro trends, and that is the thing about postmodernism. And I think fashion is now there where music was in the end of the 80s or maybe end of the 70s, where electronic music came, and these days you've got nothing new in music. It's just sort of remix of the remix and the remix and sort of different diversification, and fashion has just arrived there. And I find it interesting that fashion can actually start evolving in certain types of cyclic again and have certain meta trends again, the way it had until the end of the 20th century? Or do you think it will be like Anna Wintour said, that trends are dead and only personal distinctive tastes will remain?
I'm not interested in trends. I'm interested in sustainability in long term. So this is why I always said like, okay, we're talking fashion tech, but I'm not saying that like, you know, silk or leather or like craftsmanship is like, you know, it doesn't have a place in like technology.
I'm more talking about silhouettes and
yeah, but it's
styles.
like, I mean, the thing is like, everything is a remix, right? So like, of course, when I talk with young fashion designers, they're on the one side, they're like totally uninspired. It's like, everything has been done. Like, what can I do now? And it's like, no, just like, use this in a different context. Go into a different industry. Have a coffee with a physicist. Have a date with a medical dude. Like, you know, I just had like last week, I had dinner with industrial engineers. They do math for fun, right? And you can use that in fashion.
My boyfriend's like that.
Yeah.
My boyfriend's like that. He does math for fun, and he talks to me about logical problems just for his leisure, and it's really nice. Exactly.
Yes, but like when a designer listens to it, something completely else gets triggered in their brain. And I think that is something where you can do something new, right? But it's also like your own thing. And with, you know, IoT and virtual reality and all of that is like, the barrier of doing something on your own and creating something on your own is so much lower than it was before. Prototyping is far cheaper now. If you want to do an entire collection with like 46 pieces, you can do that. It's on a virtual reality first, but it's way less expensive than you actually want to produce it. Like, you know, a production, a normal in real life production is insane. I mean, this is why also fashion is dying at the moment, right? You know.
Well, fashion, the way we perceive it until now is dying, I would say. But I think style, fabulosity, and maybe just sort of the self-expression of fashion.
You mean an avatar?
Not just, yeah, sort of, yeah.
And that is exactly the point.
That's what it is, because makeup is the same thing. Makeup through the internet, and especially not just these mainstream YouTube videos about makeup, but especially more on the net culture, like on Reddit and several other platforms with drag culture. There's so much about makeup that's turning into this deep skill that when you use your makeup, it's not just something you put on some eyeshadow and a lipstick and you're finished, but it's got something to do with very deep skills that you learn, like coding, and it's something like virtualization of your own face.
And then we are talking about avatars again.
Exactly.
Okay, so do we have any more comments or questions from the audience? We have roughly another 10 minutes left if we want to continue, but otherwise I would tend to wrap it up here, unless you guys have... Do you want to give a closing statement, each of you? Yay!
I'm happy that I'm a software guy, so I don't have to remix or reinvent things. We can invent new things. And I also wonder, I do wearables since 2007 and nothing really changed. We're still discussing batteries. So I'm looking forward to the next Republica and see if we solve this. Huh? So thank you.
I think, like, yes, the whole concept of fashion tech and wearable is nothing new, but what has changed is now the awareness in technology that you need a good design layer to generate an emotional connection with the user between you and the technology. That is something. Like the entire trend of wearable tech with all of the Fitbits and stuff like that going down because people just lose it because there's no emotional connection to it. On the other side, fashion now is on the point where they step by step understand they have to change. So the timing between fashion and tech is really interesting because sometimes it's really helpful to talk with desperate people because people sometimes in industries and companies only change when they have to, right? And I think that is the difference now, that they on the both sides now understand something has to change. They are the tools, and you have to have people in between who are like, you know, shadow walkers or light walkers who understand both worlds and connect it and make sense.
I love that term.
Gabriel, how about you?
So yes, I think that we have to make this leap, not the steps, but this leap into these new technologies, into this new way of thinking. And yeah, the technology is here. So what we need is these crazy ideas to get started with it. For instance, you have now textile processors, just to say what's possible. So I mean, yeah, that's it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Well, I think that this is gonna get huge. I mean, I remember a few years ago when like, people were running around here with Google Glass. However, this gives a benefit for fashion brands, but also for the users because they can just be there if they want to be in an immersive environment. It will get successful, as always, as soon as porn gets on the train, I guess. But that's just how things are happening. And it will be really addictive as soon as somebody can just take over the reality of somebody who, in fact, leads an interesting life. So it comes down to really digital education again, which is already important now, but even more so in the future. And I think it can be a good thing. I don't see it as bad as you did. On the other hand, being like a sportswear brand, you see that there's a lot going on the other direction. It seems natural. Like there's so many people doing sports now and doing like all these, like they're really healthy. They're watching what they're eating. So it's not only going into like a digital direction, but it seems to me that there's a natural way of people coping with this and going like into a very, very natural part.
Okay. Well, maybe I would also like to say something a little bit provocative from my sort of non-binary cyborg point of view, is that, especially with seeing you two sitting next to each other, it sounds provocative, but I find it very, very optimistic for the future, is that with FashionTech, we can tear down the wall of bloody gender binary, of all this fashion is for women, tech is for men, it's melding together, people are coming together, noticing that these cultural, important parts of humanity are coming together. I think it's awesome, and I think that is the way we should just go by. And I'd like to just give the microphone to the other lady who was also here in the awesome outfit. What's your wrap-up words?
Oh. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so basically now the audience is pushing each other on the stage. That's an interesting phenomenon. That's a successful Fishbowl. There you go.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I agree with Jose, and just let's do it and change the fashion system. Go for it.
Great, thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely
Hold on, I'm going to
evening.
have you
Pauline, yeah.
seated for 30 seconds, so I'll keep your attention. Thank you, first of all. Thank you for the audience, too. We had some really interesting comments. And now I would like to ask you to go to stage 1, all of you. There's going to be the closing session with the 4 founders. And afterwards, of course, go to the party and have a good evening. Bye.